Hey everybody, welcome back to Rowe Country. Today I'm bringing you a video all about the Dollar Tree organization tips, tricks, and ideas that I use in my very small filming space where I have my YouTube career, so to speak. I'm super excited about this video. I really do have a very tiny space in which I actually have my YouTube business. This is where I film, this is where I keep the majority of all of my supplies, and of course everything the Dollar Tree has at their store. I always find a way to sort of use those items in my space to make it both functional, practical, and also pleasing to my eye. So this video is really coming kind of as a request because I've had other people on my channel ask me, hey, tell us more about how you organized your space behind you, or hey, I really like those bins behind you. Did you get those at Dollar Tree? So the answer is yes, I did get those at Dollar Tree. And today's video, I am sharing with you guys my very small crafting space here that I use in my home and all of the organization items that I picked up at the Dollar Tree to keep this space practical, functional, and even a little pretty. So if you like videos like this, definitely stay tuned to check out how I utilized everything from Dollar Tree and then other items in my home sort of repurposed to get my space organized and functional for me. Also coming up in future videos very soon this week, I have a Dollar Tree haul, and then I'm jumping right into DIYs for Halloween, and I'm so excited to do that. So definitely stick around. If you're not yet a subscriber, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below, and then ring that bell to make sure that YouTube notifies you anytime I put up a new video. To those of you returning, thank you again for checking out a video of mine today. Your support means everything to me. So without further ado, let's jump into the Dollar Tree organization ideas that I have for you all today. Okay everybody, so welcome to my little crafting corner that is in my home. The space overall is literally 12 square feet. So I have 4 feet by 3 feet space in this room that I utilize for my YouTube crafting career. And so what I've decided to do actually is utilize a lot of vertical and then also horizontal space. Behind the crafting space is actually my work office. So this space actually does pull double duty. My workspace where I earn a living is actually, it is actually smaller than my craft space. So this is just an overview. When I am filming, I'm usually in that chair or standing in that space. All the way over towards the window, I do keep my Cricut machine. That just seems to be the best place for me to be able to utilize. But this table that it sits on was a garbage find, on the curbside, and it butts up to my L-shaped desk that I have in my space where I work. So I have an L shape in my office, and then I have an L shape in my crafting space, and that was really the best way to sort of separate everything and keep everything nice and organized. Now, before we get into a lot of the Dollar Tree organization, I just want to point out I even use Dollar Tree organization things in my happy planning hobby that I have. I got these 2 carts from Michael's on sale, and then I use Dollar Tree items to store things that are specific to my happy planning hobby. So things like those bins and those plastic envelopes, and also these what are they called, like magazine holders or something like that. And I even use wax paper from the Dollar Tree, guys. So Dollar Tree for me, it is the place I go first whenever I'm looking for anything. Now this shot here, I just wanted to show you, this is behind my television that I have in this room. What I have is Dollar Tree poster board. that I use to enclose my space when I'm filming to allow more light to reflect down on the projects that I'm doing. But what I have back here is a Dollar Tree plate holder that I use to store things like these backgrounds that I have. I just use some contact paper over top of some of the Dollar Tree foam board or core board to cover that up. This is where I keep my extra rolls of that contact paper. And that Dollar Tree plate holder really came into this space really well, and what it allows me to do is store things behind the TV and yet keep things away from the back of the TV so that the television gets the air circulation that it needs. So that keeps those things that are not so pretty out of sight but not out of mind. They definitely keep everything nice and protected for me. Now these little strips on the side of my desk, that is what actually holds my surround up. The big part of the core board that I was just showing you behind the television gets attached to my desk, sort of in this fashion here. And that is where I film. So when I'm filming, you know, from up above, you see below, but you never see really that surround behind my filming. So that's a tip for you if you're thinking about starting a channel. Now what I did was I just took 2 command strips, and on the side of this desk here is where I keep a lot of my wall decals and also window clings that I'm using within a specific season. Turning again then to the right when you enter the space, everything for my Happy Planner is next to this first shelving unit. Now these are Billy bookcases. They came from IKEA. I don't even remember how much we paid for them. They might have been $30. I have 2 of them, and they have a total of 7 shelves going from the bottom if you utilize the very top shelf of this space. So up there, I usually, on both of these that I have, I keep things that I maybe don't want to keep with other things that I'm storing just because of their fragility. I'm worried that they might get cracked or broken. I just keep them up away from everything else, and I pull them down if and when I'm going to use them. The top shelf right now, this particular bookcase is a work in progress for me. I just keep my John Grisham books. He is my favorite author. So I keep my hardbacks up there. My bestie made some book decor for me. She cut out my last name and out of some old books. Those are stored up there because I'm redoing the space. Not completely done with that, but those books will become a part of that space. I'm also a big Dave Ramsey follower, and I say that kind of jesting because I'm very loosely Dave Ramsey, but we did take Financial Peace University. I have a Chris Hogan book up there. If you know anything about Dave Ramsey, you know what that's all about, but I needed a place to keep those away from other things. The next shelf down, you're going to find that I keep a lot of like pickle jars. I clean them out and then I decide if I'm going to paint them or whatever, and I utilize that for storage. These are things that are waiting to have things stored in them. And this is kind of another rogue shelf. So I have a coffee cup up there and a couple other things that I'm going to be putting in other places, but for now they live there. On the shelf below that, I'm keeping some of these wall decals that I picked up at Dollar Tree for some upcoming projects. Also, this is sort of a mesh between Dollar Tree and also my Happy Planner, and it's also a great spot for me to tuck things in between the bins that are next to the shelving unit and the shelving unit itself. So again, you know, Dollar Tree goes to Happy Planner, even though I picked up that specific thing at the Dollar Tree, that Heidi swap. And then I have some scrapbook paper that I'm not necessarily ready to put onto my Happy Planner carts. I also used to store my washi on this, which is a Farmhouse cup holder. I now just right now I'm keeping some book rings on it, but I'm trying to figure out if maybe I want to bring out some of my thinner ribbon and store it on that. I'm not really sure. My daughter and my son-in-law picked that up for me, and also this initial R. I like to keep things that remind me of people I love on the shelf. And then, of course, I have some things I need to keep flat. So besides the lighter, which I use for twine, to burn off some twine and also to light a candle once in a while, I like to keep that where I know it is. And then I have like a calendar here in this plastic dish piece that I wanted to use for an upcoming DIY, and some tissue paper that I'm going to be using in a DIY for my happy planner stuff. So I do have another channel, but I haven't put a lot of work into it yet, guys. But I am learning how to become a happy planner, and so that's what those supplies are for. Now, this little contraption is something that Jerry Ann Henson sort of put together on her channel, and I took that idea. This allows me to, whenever I do face shots, so anytime you see me filming, for the most part, where I'm actually in front of the camera, I use this contraption here, which is a phone holder that is tucked down into some Dollar Tree gems inside of a jar to keep it stable, and that allows me to film in that perspective sometimes when I'm not using the ring light that I have. So the shelf below this is yet some more Dollar Tree items. So this was a tiered tray that I took apart, but it is actually sitting on top of a bin from the Dollar Tree that I utilize in my crafting space to keep a lot of my crafting tools. So I'll go ahead and remove this. The reason it's sitting there is because I'm debating on whether or not I'm going to reconstruct that for a fall DIY. So I wanted to have it right there. But inside of here, anytime I need to sand anything, anytime I need some extra tough scissors, I guess, there's also some Rogue screws in here, some hook and loop tape, some clamps, things of that nature that you might find in what we call in our home the junk drawer. This is my little junk bin, but I use it a lot whenever I'm crafting. So I like to have that on a shelf, not far from my desk, very close at reach, and in the lower part of the shelving unit itself, because it really just, I'm not having to grab that from on top of a shelf and pull it back down. Now, I also started making some wax melts recently this weekend, and so inside of that Dollar Tree baggie, I have the supplies that I use to make some wax melts. And I did that because I wanted to keep it in my crafting space. For me, it is a craft, but also I wanted to be sure that nobody grabbed it and tried to wash it. You know, you definitely don't want to be making ice cubes in an ice cube tray that's been used to make some wax melts. And I also have a hot pad there that I use specifically for that little craft. So that's there. The next two bins are things that I utilize whenever I'm, you know, I've finished a project or maybe I'm working on organizing some things. So first of all, the command strips. Guys, I own my home. I don't like to put holes in my wall. I do it very, very sparingly. I also am a kind of person who changes her mind. So I use command strips to hang things. And then I have these cans of fabric and vinyl protectant that I use whenever I put up a flag outside or decor outside. I like to spray it down to give it a little extra protection. And then these circles, you can find these at Hobby Lobby or also Amazon. These are perfect for hanging heavier pieces of decor, like platters that you've done maybe some verbiage on, or some plates, or, you know, things of that nature. Something you definitely don't want to fall down, and you do want to use a nail or a screw to hang it. In this bin here, which is also a Dollar Tree bin, you'll find a lot of Dollar Tree items. I have some items for labeling, and then I also, on that metal tin in there, keep my magnets. I just know for a fact that that's where my magnets are. Anytime I need to grab them, I know that they're in that bin. Counterintuitive, probably, but that's just how my mind works, and so that's what I utilize that for. Now, the next shelf down, these are where I keep a lot of my Dollar Tree kitchen supplies. So for here, even though they might turn into like a tiered tray or a sign, these are items that I picked up at Dollar Tree in the kitchen section. Pie pans, trays, pizza pans, cake pans, things like that. The things that you put on your stovetop. All of those supplies are there. And because I'm a Cricut crafter too, I also like to pick up their glass cutting boards and use those as blanks to make gifts and things like that. Chargers are also on this shelf. So anytime I look at this shelf, I know that's where I'm going to be able to grab what I need to grab from that section of the store to make what I want to make. I also keep one of these gray bins at the bottom. Now, this is where I keep a lot of my extra or surplus Dollar Tree items They may not necessarily be a craft that or something that I would grab for a craft in a specific season, but I know that I have extra supplies in there, and that seems to fit well on that Billy bookcase. And then finally, I'm currently using these little trash bins to hold my floral decor, but I actually do plan on doing something a little different and taking these more into a vertical space. I don't necessarily like them on the floor like they are, and they are in bags to keep them dust free, and some of that stuff is flocked, so I don't like all of that stuff to, you know, wind up back on my carpet and off of the actual floral decor. So that's how I'm currently storing everything when you enter my craft space off to the right hand side. But I really have been finding for myself that these next bins that I'm going to show you that I picked up at Walmart have actually created some crafting peace in my mind. So what I did was I've got 3 different bins here that I've used my Cricut to create labels. If you have been around my channel for a while, you know that one of the things I do like to make are gnomes, and I like to make seasonal gnomes. So any gnome craft supply that I pick up anytime during the year goes into that bottom bin. I don't necessarily grab for that bin as much as I grab for the next 2, and that is why it's down at the bottom, and this is not in alphabetical order. My mind normally likes things in alphabetical order, but I'm okay with it because I know how I use the space. The next bin up is what happens, or where things go for the next season that would be coming up in my crafting lineup. So at the bottom, we have the gnome supplies. Anytime I pick up maybe baby booties or some gnome hair or things like that, that goes in that bin. The top is for current projects, and the one below is for the next season. So today being September 1st when I'm filming this, my current projects are going to be Halloween. So anything that I would pick up at any store, Dollar Tree mostly, those come home and then they get put in the current projects bin. Anything that would be the next season, so for me it would go Halloween, fall. That next season, fall, is what would be in there. Then as I move out of Halloween and into fall, all of my fall things would come up into my current projects, and the next season would likely be Christmas. And then Christmas goes into winter, and it just becomes a cycle. So it allows me to bring everything together that, or the majority of things together that I know I'm going to be working on in upcoming projects, and have them in one space. So when I sit down and I say, okay, that's what I'm going to make for my next Halloween DIY, I go to that bin, and the majority of everything I need is in one space. So like I said, I do like to tuck things in between these bins and the bookcases, and normally that'll be things like, for instance, this pillow insert that you see there. I actually am working on a pillow cover, and so I wanted a space that I could just kind of put that and know where it would be. But guys, this top bin is my favorite. And it doesn't match the others, so I haven't done any labeling on it. But this is what happens. I go to the Dollar Tree or anywhere else and I do my shopping. My boys know when they empty out the back of my car, they're to bring the bags in regardless of what's in them, and they put them in this bin. And then what I do is I sort of go through them, divvy up things that I might not haul. And this is, for you guys, a little bit of a sneak peek of an upcoming Dollar Tree haul, because that is what that bin is for. All the bags for my haul. And so when it's time for me to sit down and actually film that video, I'll pull this bin down off of the stack of bins, and I'll sort of organize. Sometimes I like to do a hodgepodge when I do my haul videos and just pull from bags. Other times I like to get everything organized. But guys, that's where I put it. So if you ever wonder, like, where do you put all that stuff when you go to the Dollar Tree and you come back and you've spent like 80 bucks, it goes right there into that bin. And that has been, honest to God, a lifesaver for me. Okay, so next to those bins, I have another Billy bookcase, another 7 shelves for me to utilize. And once again, up at the top, the very, very tippy top, I put things that maybe I've made or things that I just don't want to be broken if they're, you know, possibly broken in any other stored space. And then starting at the top of this shelf, I have put up things that I don't
always grab for. So for instance, this is where I keep my polyacrylic. And next to that, I keep my glitter. These are Dollar Tree bins. These work out perfect for me for this. And I also just kind of stack on top the lint rollers from the Dollar Tree, because anytime I work with glitter, I like to have a lint roller to pick it up off of the table. But these are for ornaments that I make and sell and plan to be selling this year. But this is not something that I grab for on, on the regular. So they're up at the top shelf. These next two gorgeous navy blue baskets from the Dollar Tree also hold some of my raffia and some moss and things like that. Things I don't always grab. So I may decide to, expand my polyacrylic glitter ornaments and move those to a different spot. And again, I do have room on that other shelf to do that. I also like to use my Cricut to make farmhouse signs, and those dry erase boards make great blanks for that. So I pick those up anytime I can at the Dollar Tree, and I just sort of slide them onto a shelf where they're able to live and not be in the way. The next shelf down are these fabric bins that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. And guys, these are great for ribbon, but as you can see, some of my burlap ribbon has, taken up residence in my satin ribbon bin. And so I think I'm going to have to sort of rethink that. That's why I'm thinking maybe some of the smaller ribbons should maybe go onto the farmhouse stand that I showed you on my other set of shelving. So coming down further, I have more Dollar Tree bins, guys. I'm telling you, Dollar Tree is the mega place to check out, because you can store everything from like the canvases I just showed you to paintbrushes to paint itself. I like to sort of keep everything in one place where I would grab for it. And I've even been able to, separate out my chalk paint from my acrylic paint. And then these chopping mats from the Dollar Tree make great backdrops. And they're easy to, clean up the paint when you get them cleaned up right away, but they're perfect for that. So the next shelf down is some more of these fabric bins from the Dollar Tree. And in this corner, I like to keep some of the wood supplies that I would be using for any upcoming craft. But you will notice as I show you what's going on in this little wood bin, not everything in here is wood. And that's because when I started putting things in here, I realized that I like to use other materials, especially when I'm making like garlands or beaded garlands or farmhouse garlands, like for instance those pearls that were there. So for me, anything round that would typically be wood, but I might bring in other material, that's where I'm going to find that in that bin. Again, this is how my mind works. You might specifically want pearls in a different bin, and that's okay. I also love these chalkboard tags with the little clip on the back from the Dollar Tree. You're able to get them in a pack of 4. I did see them very recently in the Crafters Square section at my local store. So they are out there, guys, but I love to clip them on the front of these bins so I know just at a glance what's where, if that makes sense. So in this bin, everything that is an adhesive, hence glue, is in here. Also my finger protectors for my hot glue. So I know if I'm grabbing for my glue gun, I can also find those there. And then this is an old microwave spinning glass piece. Then that is actually what I put all of my, like when I'm working on glue or with glue, hot glue, I keep that on there. And then also my glue sticks right on there as well, so I'm not back and forth between the bins. This final little bin, this is a great place to also store all of your Dollar Tree lights. So those little tea lights and the like all the LED lights and things like that, those fit in there so well. You can get a lot of product into those bins. So the next 2 shelves are actually places where I keep a lot, again, of Dollar Tree product. The next shelf down, you'll see a lot more wood items. Now, these aren't just Dollar Tree. These are also maybe some pieces that I picked up at Hobby Lobby that I felt would make a great blank or a redo for some farmhouse signs that I like to do. Those wooden pieces are, they could be in right now. They could be in the current projects, but I can't decide if I'm going to do Halloween or fall for those at all. So right now they're just with the wood supplies because they are made of wood. I also like to keep, you know, some extra wood that we have around the house from other projects. So anything that is wood related would be on that shelf, and that's working out really, really well. Again, because I'm trying to really get into my Cricut more, I like to keep things in one space where I can grab from. And then this bottom shelf are a lot of different types of frames. So, you know, I've got some 12 by 12 frames, and then I've got some other sorts of things there that I would grab for if I'm making anything that would require a frame. But back to this garbage piece that I picked up on the side of the road. This is where my Cricut lives. This is closest to that window, and those chopping mats, those are from the Dollar Tree. I also keep this little bin right here, and that wad up piece of tin foil is really to just go ahead and sharpen my Cricut blade, so I keep that right there as well. I mentioned that I did pick this up out of the garbage or off the side of the road, and it was actually a TV stand. So you can see there I did not fill in the holes. All we did was give this a white coat of paint. It could use a redo on it. That might be something I bring in to my channel and redo this at some point, but I sort of like it the way that it is now. It is serving the purpose, which is really just to keep everything organized. But as you can see, it's damaged on the top. It really could use an extra coat of paint here or there, and I may decide, like I said, to go ahead and redo that. For now, I'm just keeping an IKEA chopping mat or chopping board on the top. But down here at the bottom, I keep a lot of breakables. Again, if something's going to fall, for me, I don't want it to fall very far. So I keep things that I might use in tiered trays or other seasonal decor. There's some bins back there that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. Extra bits of maybe, I don't know, candles and things like that. Those are all on that bottom shelf. I also picked up recently that laminator from Amazon, fairly cheap, and I like that for my Happy Planner stuff, but I have an outlet or an extension cord near this space. So anytime I'm laminating, I actually bring this up to the top where that IKEA chopping board was. And here's some more Dollar Tree bins, guys. So I even use Dollar Tree Band-Aids if I actually cut myself, and that's happened before. So I keep those right there, sort of like a, you know, first aid supply, just right there. But these two bins hold decor items. So this one was a Rubbermaid sort of thing, like a Betty Crocker sort of bottom. And then the other one was the Dollar Tree bin that I kept extra cones and things of that nature in. My bestie also cut out that XO. That's going to become part of regular decor very soon. So I have those there. But I like to keep things in a space where I know where they are in case I want to re-add them back to decor like I'm going to do with those. This is some of my Heidi Swapp Marquee Love haul that I was able to pick up at the Dollar Tree for $1 a piece. I have items that I'm going, or projects that I'm going to do with those items, so I like to keep those in a space where I know where they are and keep like things together. I have some of those teacher bins in that corner, and then of course at the bottom I have some scrapbooks and some family photos. So I keep all of that in that space, and it's worked out really well. Now these two bins are something that I picked up at Joann's when Joann was having that mega sale. I picked those up, I think, for $7. They are really scrapbook paper holders is what they call them, but they have this top. I'm not going to pull them out, but they have a top which is separate from the other part of the bin. And what I keep in them is my HTV and my removable vinyl in one, and the scraps on the top. And then I keep my permanent vinyl in the other one, and the scraps in the top as well. It keeps them separate, but they're right here. So when it's time for me to do a Cricut project, I pull those out. These cute little baskets from the Dollar Tree. One of them is holding extra supplies for wreath making. And then the other one is holding, like, for instance, the easy liner and even some scrap material. And then I also have some of those Dollar Tree storage bags that I keep a lot of, like burlap and things like that. Next to this, now I use the side of this Billy bookcase. Guys, if you have a small space, going vertical will save you. I just use some command strips or command hooks, and I started hanging like my Cricut mats at the bottom, and then going up, you're going to see that I even kept some of the forms for wreath making. I like to have them hanging up versus inside of a bin because it makes sure that they don't get damaged or bent in any way. This has really turned into a great way to store those items. And so guys, as we pan back out, this is my 12 square foot, you know, crafting space that I've used a lot of Dollar Tree items to organize this space, to keep me productive, to keep things in like order, to just stay organized and really even pretty to the eye. I really like going to the Dollar Tree and seeing how I can bring home those items and use them to keep myself organized. And I really hope that today's video has really maybe inspired you to maybe take a small space in your house and revamp it in some way to get yourself organized and put back together, and, you know, maybe jump back into some of the crafting that maybe you've been putting off because you're not quite organized just yet. So guys, if you like today's video, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. It really does help the channel. If you also like the video and thought maybe somebody else might benefit from it, go ahead and share today's video with them as well. And again, guys, if you're not yet subscribed, please consider becoming a member of the Rowe Country family here on YouTube. We would really like to, you know, have you here. I would love that. I'd like to interact with my people, so please leave me some comments down below. And again, guys, my returning subscribers, thank you so much again. And until next time, I will see you in my next video. Bye.